Okay, so I hope you understand the operators. Okay, so today I'm going to be covering the concept called conditional statements. Okay, so one of the very important topic of any programming language, not only Python. If you learn any language like Python, Java, C, C++, or .NET, C Sharp, whatever, JavaScript, C, in any language. So conditional statements are very, very, very important because whenever you want to check or validate any condition or any statement, whether true or false, or whether valid or not, or whether correct or wrong, so such kind of decision making if you want to take in the program, so we will use these conditional statements. That's why we call these are decision making statements, or else like branching statement, because this will allow you to branch the code instead of sequential execution. It will control the execution, like block 1 or block 2, or some like example case 1 or case 2, like you have options to split the code execution or bypass the code execution. Okay, so that is the idea of the conditional statements. So as I mentioned earlier, in Python we don't have different types of conditionals. We have only one variation, that is if, else, elif. These are the three keywords we will use for writing the conditional statements. Okay, we don't have like switch or conditional like question mark, colon, so that all are removed in the Python. So we do have only one straightforward option, if else. So if you want to check a condition, write the if statement, otherwise it's not required. Okay, so the syntax will be if condition colon. Here one more point you need to understand from today onwards: blocking, very, very important. That little, I can say it's new to the language. When you go for other language like C and Java, we may write blocking statements using curly bracket. So I will show you a simple syntax, like if basically condition, okay, and here generally we may write like this, curly brackets, right, within this code, whatever the code you are writing. But Python does not indicate blocking by using this what do you call flower back, I mean that the brackets, what we are indicating blocking statements. But in Python the same block is indicating by indentation. So that means if you want to indicate this is a block of code, you need to give the either equal space or tab space. So now you can write the code by following all our tab space only. Okay, likewise. So this is how the blocking structure you have to give, and now else, colon, and same way tab structure. So in other languages the indentation is optional. So it's only for making the program clear and visibility purpose only. It doesn't have any syntactical rules. But in Python, it is a mandatory rule. Whenever you are writing any block of code, then you should write by following equal space or equal indentation, and it is easy to follow. That is a tab space always. Okay. And the second difference, if you are using any blocks in the Python, we are indicating by colon, this one, two dots. So when you are using any other language, this curly brackets indicating, right? So here this colon like for loops, for functions, for class, for exception handling, anything. So if you want to write any block structure, we will indicate by colon, and whenever you write the colon, immediately you have to give the tab space. So simple. You have to remember two things. If you want to give a block of code, you have to give the colon and followed by tab space, that is indentation. So this is the way you have to write. And if you have multiple conditions, the same way we have to write the else if also. So instead of else if, we have elif keyword. So if condition, okay, colon, now as I mentioned, tab space code, and then elif. So that means if you have multiple conditions to validate in the single program, okay, then we can write the elif ladder or elif conditions, like multiple conditions. It will verify all the conditions one by one sequentially. If any of the condition passed or matched, the block, respective block will be executed. Otherwise, by default, the else block will be executed. And likewise, first it will check the first condition. If this condition satisfied, this block will be executed. If this condition not satisfied, it will go for elif. Again, it will verify the second condition. Similarly, all the conditions one by one it will verify. Among these all the conditions, if one of the condition matched or passed, then the respective block will be executed and remaining all the other blocks will be skipped. But if none of the condition matched, then by default the system will execute the last block called else block in the application. Okay. So likewise, the if condition will execute condition by condition checking. So is the syntax clear for you? So use cases as I mentioned. So to validate like any condition, or to whether to check whether the condition true or false, or to check that some condition met or not. Like in this all situations, we generally use the conditional statement to validate that particular situation. So any doubt till this point? If not, we'll go with some examples. But as I mentioned, we don't have switch or we don't have conditional operator also, like question mark, colon also we don't have in Python. So only we have if, else, elif. These three keywords only we have to indicate the conditional statements. Any doubt as of now? Shall I go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So now we may start some few examples. Okay. Okay, so very simple example we'll consider. So as we know, let's take example. I want to check whether given like character is okay, whether given character is oval or not. Let's take example. Okay, so for example, we have to take a character from the keyboard, and I want to check whether that character belongs to vowel or not. As we know, out of the alphabets, we have 5 vowels like A, E, I, O, U. So here instead of comparing the individually A with A, E, I, O, we can make a list and we can compare it. How we'll see check that vowels. So here first we need to read the character. So for that also we can use input only. Input, enter character. Okay, and here. And now I'm writing if ch. There is an operator called in. If you remember, in is used to validate that is in the respective collection or not. So I want to represent 5 characters. So I'm taking as a list A, comma, E, sorry, E, comma, I, comma, O, comma, Q. Okay. Or if you're not using in operator, you can write like ch equal to a, or ch equal to a, like that also you can write. Okay, so now print oval. Okay, so now else, obviously it's a consonant. So here two things you need to understand. So in is also, as mentioned earlier, conditional to check that whether given character in the given collection or not. Here I'm using the same in operator only. So if I'm giving the, let's take A, then it will give that output like oval. And if I'm running the same thing with a different character, then it is showing as a consonant. Okay, so likewise we can validate, but still to validate more properly, we need some string functions. Later on we'll explain, like example, if user given the number. So let's take example in this case. So if I'm giving 5, that is giving consonant, it's not the right thing, right? So we have to filter it out. Like that means if the given character only alphabet, then only we have to check whether vowel or consonant. If it is not the character is not given as a alphabet, if it is something like number or something like special symbol, then we need to omit it. Like that also we can check, but after a few options we may cover that part also. And also, like example, in this case I taken the only lower case, but how to cover the uppercase letters? So that also we can check in the next upcoming classes. Okay, so we'll see that part, because to check that we need to understand string functions. So for that we need to learn the string functions. I will let you know, but as of now just understand the syntax of the conditional statement called if else. So here I explain that whether the given character is vowel or not. So is this program clear or not? I hope you clear, right? So now I'm extending this program to uppercase also along with the other case also. But as I mentioned, right, detail will explain later, but I will cover the two respective functions only. Okay. So here, first thing, whatever the character, let's take now straight away. If I'm run the program, if I'm giving uppercase, it doesn't match that. Okay. So see that constant is showing. So for that, user whatever the case he given, internally what I'm trying to do, I'm converting into lowercase. Okay. So what it will do, user if they're giving uppercase or lowercase, internally it will convert the lower and it will the function condition. So now it will handle the uppercase and lowercase. See, now it's giving vowel, and if I'm giving the small letter also, it will be the vowel. Okay. So likewise, if you want to maintain the case insensitive in any logic, not only here, Nana. Like for example, sometimes in our forms also, user may enter the uppercase or lowercase. Backend it will treat as a some single case only. It may be upper or lower. So likewise, if you want to convert unique format of the case, it may be upper or lower. Likewise, internally we use the functions. Like to convert into lower, we have lower function. Similarly, upper is used for converting the uppercase letters. Okay. And now the second option is, as I mentioned, first one I converted into lowercase to make sure that our program is handling the case sensitive. That means it can handle the uppercase as well as lowercase now. And now the second, we need to check for only alphabets. If it is contains special symbols or if it is contains numericals, it should not show the vowel or consonant. Instead of that, it should display that it is not a first character we have to display. Okay. So for that, I'm writing another if condition. If ch dot, there is a inbuilt function called is alpha. Okay. So what this is alpha will do, that alpha means alphabet. So it will return true when the when string contains only characters. Okay. For example, whatever the input we given, if it is contains other than characters, then it returns internally false. So that's why I mentioned if condition. And now, as I mentioned, whenever we are writing if condition, the entire internal code should be with indentation. So again, entire code I'm giving tab space. Okay. So now in this case, what happened? Please try to understand. I will explain. First, we are giving character as an input. Okay. And then I'm converting the given character into lowercase. And now I'm checking that whether that character is alphabet or not. If it is alphabet, again I'm internally checking that whether that character belongs to any of these 5 characters, A, E, I, O, U. If it is belongs to A, E, I, O, U, that means it is a vowel. If not, other than these, all other characters we called as, and final else I'm also giving to the negative statement. Means if user entered something which is not character, then we are telling that it's not a it's not a character. Simple. Okay. So I hope you understand till this point. Any doubt till this point? No, sir. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to run this program. So now you see, if I'm giving the 45, now you see it's giving, it's not a character. Okay. And similarly, if I'm entering some dollar, it's not a character. Now I'm giving uppercase A. Now it's giving vowel. And if I'm giving small case N, now it is giving consonant. See that. Sorry. What happened? Enter character. 1 second. Stop and rerun. Okay, I'm giving M as a letter. Yeah, now it's working constant. Okay. So now this program handling all validations along with our actual expectation. So likewise, we can also write the condition within the condition. Okay. If you clearly observe that I written one if within the another if. So this kind of structure only technically we called as nested if. So nested if means if you write an if condition within the another if condition, we called that kind of structure called as nested if. So here totally I mean that the first condition is satisfied, then only it will go for inside condition. If the first condition itself fail, it will directly go to the else block. Okay. So likewise, nested block will be executed. So any doubt in this program? If not, I will go for another program. Okay, fine. So I'm going for another program now. So now I'm going for checking whether given value is even number or odd number. Okay, even or odd. So I hope majority of you people know that what is even or what is odd number. So even number means if any number successfully divisible by 2, so then we call it as even number. So mathematically, if you call, if any number, if we divides with 0, if the remainder is 0, then we call it as a even number. If the remainder is 1, then it is called a odd number. So the same technique I'm using here. So if you remember, to get the remainder, we have an operator called modulus operator. So that is called percentile. So that is I'm using here. So first I'm reading the value n equal to int of input of enter a value. Okay. And now if n percentile 2 equal to 0. So means whatever the number we are getting here, I'm dividing with 2. Okay. So after dividing with 2, what is the remainder we are getting? That will return by the n percentile 2. And now I'm comparing with 0. So if the remainder is 0, if a number divides with 2, and it returns the remainder as 0, that means the given number is even number. Print the otherwise n comma is even. Okay. Similarly, if it is if it is not even, there is no other condition to validate, so straight away we can print that there is an odd number. So the how we are defining the if else based on the number of conditions only. Nana. If we have the only one condition, then if else is enough. But if you have the multiple conditions to validate, then we may use else if ladder or elif ladder. Okay. So now n comma is odd number. Okay. So this is a simple if else condition. So if I'm running, let's take I'm giving 10. So now it is giving 10 is even. And same program if I'm running, let's take 13. That's giving 13 is odd number. So likewise, we can have the only simple if else. In previous example, we covered nested if. That means if within the another if. Now we have only if else straightforward. Like if the first condition satisfied, it will go for internal that line execution. If that's not satisfied, go for next one. I hope you understand. So any doubts till this point?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So now I'm taking okay, now I'm comparing the two values. Okay, compare two values. So here I'm taking two values as input. Okay, a equal to int of input of enter a value, okay, b equal to int of input of enter b value, okay. And now I want to compare these two values. So first condition, if a greater than b, means I'm checking that, I'm comparing or checking that which one is the big value. Now in this case, first I'm checking if a greater than b. What it means? I'm asking to system or program, is it a greater than b? I'm asking. If so, yes. So it means a is big value, right? So a comma is big. And now else print b comma is big. If I'm writing like this, what will happen? Just see the output, okay. So let's take, I'm giving 10 comma 20. Yeah, so 20 is big, correct expectation, okay. And now if I'm giving 30 comma 10, 30 is big. But the same program, if I'm giving 10 comma 10, so still it's showing 10 is big. See that. Now, if you really observe that in this situation, previous definitely two conditions enough, even or odd, because if every value either belongs to even number or odd number, there is no other choice we have. But in this case, we have three cases, not two. Either A may be more than B, or A may be less than B, or there is a scenario A equal to B also. Okay. But in our in our program, we covered only two scenarios. If A greater than B, A is big. In other cases, we are directly calling B is big. But the other thing is, other option we have, both may be equal also. There is neither A is big nor B is big. So that is the case we have to cover. So likewise, what I'm trying to explain, if you have multiple conditions, see here in this case, we got two conditions to validate. One is A greater than B, another one B greater than A. So that is L if B greater than A. So in this case, we will use elif. Okay. Now the final case, see, neither A greater than B nor B greater than A. That means A is not more than B and B is not more than A. So it's tightly showing that both are equal. So third case are here, both are equal. So likewise, if you have only one condition and two results, yes or no, then we can go with if else. But if you have the more than one condition, like here, if in the any other case also, if you have more condition like 2, 3, 4, whatever the number of conditions, then we should use an additional block called elif block. So likewise, you can write number of elifs, and finally you should write the default case called else. So now in this case, if you run the program, so if I'm giving 10, 20, it will give the big value. If I'm giving the both are same, now initially showing b is big, now see that both are equal. So likewise, how many possible situations or conditions we may have in the logic, that all you should cover in the logic. Then only there might not be covering edge cases or negative cases also, we may not miss it. So that is very, very important in any program logic implementation. So we should implement all possible scenarios so that whatever the possible input given by the customer user, our system will handle and will give some response. But if you are not covering all combinations, sometimes our system may crash, or sometimes it will show the empty result. So both the cases is not really user friendly. So user may not understand also what's happening internally in the system. So always remember, we should, as a developer, we should cover as much as possible scenarios to give the input to the customer, so that customer can understand what's happening within the system. Okay, so that's very important in real time. So any doubt as of now? No, sir. Good. Let's take validate, I'm taking a simple example, validate type. Okay. I will use the, see, we used in operator in the first example, we used relational operators. Okay. Now we'll try to use the logical operators as part of the conditional statements. Okay. Let's example, I want to validate whether given point is origin or not. Okay. Let's consider I want to read the two values x and y, and I want to compare it whether it's a origin or not. So when we have the both the points x comma y as a 0 comma 0, then we call it as a origin. If either of the x or y is 0, it may be x equal 0 or y equal to 0, then the point will be on the axis. Else the other case, then it will be in the quadrant. So I'm telling the point quadrants, okay, generally. So x equal to, I'm writing int of input of enter value. So simple logic, I'm taking two values and I'm comparing whether it is origin or not. Okay. So y is equal to int of input of enter value. The first case, if user given both are x 0, so x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. So then it's a center point. Both are 0 means it is a origin. Okay. That's why we used end operator. So end means it should satisfy both the conditions, left and right. Now I'm writing elif. If not, that means if both are not 0. So then I'm checking at least either of that 0. So it may be x equal 0 or y equal 0. Like example 1 comma 0, 0 comma 1, 2 comma 0, minus 3 comma 0, such combinations. Okay. Let's take example x equal to 0 or y equal 0. So it means either of that 0. Okay. So now I'm telling print the point on axis. Okay. Last one, else if neither of the x is 0, that means x is not 0, y is not 0, it has some value, then definitely it quadrant on quadrant, like q, we have q1, q2, q3, q4, any of that maybe. Okay. So likewise, we can write the logical operators. Logical means here we call AND or. AND is used to check the both the conditions has to be true, and R is means that either of that true. Let's take enter value. I'm giving 0 comma 0. Now it's showing origin. Okay. The same example I'm giving 6 comma 0. So now it is showing on axis. Okay. And if I'm giving 0 comma 7, it is also on axis. If I'm giving something numbers, then showing on quadrant of any of the q1 to q4. Okay. So likewise, you can use the logical operators called and or. So if you want to combine the more conditions in single line, then we can use either and or statements. So is that clear usage of and or? So that's what these are called logical operators. And the greater than, less than, double equal, whatever so far we are using, that all are technically called as relational operators. And the first one we used in the vowels, that is called membership operator. Okay. But these are all, as I mentioned already, generally used in the conditional and looping statements only. So please try to understand the programs. And if you have any doubt, you can raise your hand or you can ask the question also. Okay, fine. For today, the last program which will cover the is. Okay. So now let's take example. Okay, very simple example. So I will take a value and I want to check that whether it is an integer or not. Very simple one. Okay. So I want to check whether it is a integer or not. That's it. So for that, if a is, as I mentioned, right, a is int, print it's an integer. Okay. Only if condition. I don't want to write any else condition. Assume that. Okay. So now in this case, it will give an empty because see, as I mentioned already, A is an int, it means that A we are checking the value. 10 is in no, right? So to check that type of the value, we should use an inbuilt function type. So type will give whether it is a int or float. So now it's validating type of int is int. See, now it's getting it's an integer. So that means the type of A is int. So is, see, this operator will help you to check that whether that belongs to that particular class or not. Okay. So else print it's not. It's not. Okay. Got it? And similarly, to use this particular same operation, there is an inbuilt function also equivalent to the is. So whatever the is we are using, so is use it to compare the two values, right? Similarly, there is an inbuilt function to work as like is, that is instance. Okay, so is instance, sorry, instance of. So instance of also is used to check that whether the value belongs to the class or not. So instead of this, we can use instance of also in real time. Okay, so the syntax will be if is instance, here we can write a comma int. Now print it's an integer, else it's not. So same output we can expect in two approach. See, both is giving it's an integer. Okay, let's take example. If I'm giving 10.6, we do right. 10.6 is not an integer, it's a float. Now it will give it is not. See that. So is operator, is instance will act as similar to each other basically. Okay, but these are all different combinations of operator commonly used in the conditionals and looping. Even looping statements also we use the same combination of operators. So whenever you want to write any conditional statement, you have to recollect the conditional operators first. One is relational operators, logical operators, membership operators, and instance operators. So these four operators will help you to write the conditional statements. Similarly, we can also write the looping statements also, like while and for loop. So that will cover in the next class, but this is all about your conditional statements and some examples. Okay, and if possible tomorrow I will share with you some assigned tasks on this particular operators and conditional statements. Maybe you can try and you can ask me doubts also. And Monday we will cover some more examples on basis of these conditional statements and this one, and also we'll cover the looping statements. Okay, so any doubt till this point?
No, sir.
Good. Anyone have any doubt till this point? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, perfect then. Okay, happy weekend then. So we'll meet on Monday. Okay, bye.